NSFW. What's the worst thing you have witnessed on a bachelorette party? This isn't going to be anywhere near as horrific as what I'm sure most people will have to say here. But my friend invited an absolute scumbag to her hen party about 7 years ago. Her reputation was that she was trash. But she showed up like a different person and was actually very nice the whole night. She was on her best behavior. Buying rounds of drinks. Showing a genuine interest in conversations. The whole works. She even offered to look after the coats and bags while we got up to dance. Halfway through the first song we all turned around to find her rifling through everyone's belongings. She locked eyes with us while she had one hand full of banknotes and the other full of someone's cigarettes. She wasn't at the wedding. Whole party got drunk. Best man admitted to having slept with the bride. Massive bar fight followed. Groom lost one of his front teeth. The wedding still happened. But he kept his mouth shut in all the pictures. Best man was nowhere to be seen and the title was given to the groom's other brother. Edited because people seemed to have an issue with the word ensued. It was a combo bachelor and bachelorette party and one attendee got really drunk and wanted to leave. The hosts had collected everyone's keys to prevent drunk driving and refused to return his keys he'd willingly given up earlier. He goes outside and shortly returns with a tire iron and just starts wailing on guests at the party including bridesmaids and groomsmen. One of the other attendees grabs a big 6-cell mag light and clocks the aggressor over the head with it, killing him. No charges got filed because it was deemed justified and the wedding went on as planned a few days later. I felt bad for the bride and groom because no amount of makeup was going to hide the bruises and missing teeth in the wedding photos. Had a friend hit $250,000 on a $5 slot machine at a Shreveport casino on his bachelor party 2 weeks before the ceremony. With his newfound wealth, he decided to ask his fiancée to sign a prenup. She refused. She had referred to it as our money from the first moment she heard the good news. And so, he walked away. Everyone hated him for it. He was practically excommunicated from all our social circles. 10 years later and she's filed bankruptcy twice. In hindsight he made the right decision. My buddy's bachelor party was set to be pretty tame. No strip clubs or casinos or anything like that. He just wanted to get these massive burgers from the local burger joint walking distance from his condo and play Mario Kart 64. So after we had all stuffed our faces from these ridiculous Mondo burgers, we sat down, divvied up the teams, and each person would drain one beer per lap, then exchange controllers. Every single person ended up puking immediately. Once the toilet, sink, and kitchen sink were full, people were throwing up all over the place, running around looking for the least damaging spot to spew. It was obscene. When I left a wedding reception to go to another event I asked my friends to watch out for my younger brother. My friends were drunk and they dared my brother to go knock on some limo's window that drove by. He did. Then he ran away. Then a bunch of girls opened the door and told him to come back. So he did. Then the limo drove off with my brother in it. It was a bachelorette party. My friends freaked out because they were supposed to watch my brother and he just hopped in some stranger's car that drove away. The girls in the car got my brother to eat a lifesaver off the bachelorette's nipple. Then they showed him a picture of the huge guy she was marrying the next day. He was scared for a week some guy was going to find him and beat him up. Probably has to be my friend's bachelor party. We went to a casino, where he got very drunk. Ended up blowing thousands of dollars that night and he didn't seem to realize what he had done until the next morning. He was unemployed at the time and the money he spent was supposed to go towards their honeymoon. I haven't talked to him in a while but I'm pretty sure he got a divorce. We had an ongoing rule through the weekend that if you were holding a pint and someone managed to get a nominated coin into it, you had to down it immediately. It was, I think, a Brazilian real, whatever it was. It was a big old coin. Significant diameter and a good, sturdy thickness. Anyway, one of the chaps ended up swallowing the coin along with the beer. I'll never forget the look of realization on his face. And I can imagine the other look on his face a couple of days later. Another one that comes to mind. My brother-in-law was dressed as a fox and the rest of us were country gentlemen. Tweed. Flat caps etc. It was a good theme tbh. It was a boozy weekend. But nothing particularly crazy went down. At about 3 AM on the second night. Before we were going to go home. The groom went for a dance in a fountain. He slipped and smashed his head on the ground. Really bad. Some paramedics arrived and had to, of course, cut him out of his all-in-one hooded fox costume. By now covered in blood. He went to hospital and had the wound glued up. And we can laugh about it as thankfully there was no long-term damage. Apart from perhaps to his pride. When the blood-soaked half-shredded fox costume was brandished in the best man's speech. I was dealing for my friend's bachelor party. I jammed 4 drunk Marines into a 2013 Yaris. And we hit the road. Eventually we ended up at a CD strip club. Things are going okay. Drinks were surprisingly affordable. And we were the only people in the joint. Eventually a different dancer stumbles through the door and is aggressively trying to get someone to buy a dance from her. Nobody is interested as she was definitely not on the A squad. She talks my buddy and his younger brother into seeing a trick and proceeds to without warning squirt a bottle of water up her vag. And then spray it on them. Edit. No. Not the driftwood. They had all finished their service. There were strippers who came to the hotel room and were getting most of the guys super horny. They left and everyone got super drunk and people passed out. I was laying down but still awake when I noticed a head bobbing up and down. I slowly turn and open my eyes and the groom is blowing the best man. The best man taps his shoulder and gives an O face and the groom doesn't stop. Then after the best man is done coming, the groom takes the best man's big dig and makes sure he got all the cum by licking what was left of it off of his big dig. I will never forget that image. The best man then pulls up his pants and they go to sleep. I mean while I'm freaking out in my head while I am laying there. I didn't sleep. Didn't tell anyone about it until now. I used to work at one of the busiest bars in my city. Very popular for stag hen nights from all over the country, neighboring countries. We saw some really messed up stuff with stag hen nights. Worst stag do we had were all very loud, very aggressive, and very drunk. Feed booked out a room upstairs and hired in strippers. We later found the stag, bachelor, going down on one of the strippers. In the middle of the bar downstairs. When security stepped in he tried to fight all of them. Unwise. The worst hen was much worse. Ended up having to give a statement to the police. There were about 20 women ages ranging from 20s to 60s all dressed up as minions. With the hen, Bachelorette, being a minion in a dress. They started off alright. Pretty loud but you can't blame them for that. But as the night went on the hen got extremely drunk. I was on the floor collecting glasses when I walked past a crowd gathered around one of the ground level speakers. I stepped in to see what was going on. But I was not prepared. The hen was sitting. Legs splayed. Underwear gone. With about 3 different people's hands all having a feel. She seems to be loving the attention. Beckoning people to join in and waving at the people filming. At this point I call security over and they disperse the crowd. And bring the hen into one of the quiet areas. Give her some water. Make sure she's okay. She seems happy but the rest of the party are either arguing with each other or crying. Her mother, also at the party, was definitely not happy. But the worst part was when one of the people filming came into the quiet area to tell her that he knows her fiancé and had already sent him the video. She then ordered security to phone the police and changed her story from just a bit of fun on my hen night to I was raped. The whole thing was awful. So glad this got asked. I was at my buddy's bachelor party in Montreal. His thing was relatively tame, however. As we're walking from the strip club to the bar, we end up behind a bunch of college girls who came up from the States to drink. They're all dressed in their club gear and completely hammered. I see one particularly wobbly young woman wearing incredibly high heels. She takes a misstep and rolls her ducking ankle so bad her shin touches the sidewalk. She straight up broke her leg but was so drunk she kept on trucking. I run up to one of the more sober looking members of her group and am like, your friend just broke her leg. Unfortunately she and her friends think I'm trying to pick them up. I'm like, I'm married and 10 years older than you. But you should probably take care of your friend. Meanwhile the injured woman's leg is already swelling up. Also, at my bachelor party, the strip club we went to ended up being the venue for the Macro Wrestling Federation, so instead of boobers I got little person wrestling. My friends also got a store clerk to detain me for shoplifting as a prank. Friend's bachelorette party heads to a grotty strip club, where a particularly sweaty and greased up male stripper takes a drink from the hands of one of the party, puts it on the stage and proceeds to do push-ups, dipping his big dig into the drink. He'd also just put shaving cream all over himself for some reason. So there's big blobs of that and a film of grease all floating in this girl's rum and coke that this bloke has been dipping his knob in and out of. She takes it and downs it in one and licks around the inside of the glass. Nearly threw up. Edit. I know you would expect it to be whipped cream he was rubbing on himself, but unfortunately it was definitely shaving cream. I distinctly saw him bring out a can of Gillette and spray it all over his chest and crotch. Well, not really a bachelorette party. More of a shower given by my soon-to-be in-laws. Lots of conservative, friendly, polite church ladies. It was very thoughtful of them and they gave us lots of sweet gifts. And just about everyone gave us one of those little kitchen towels. As things were winding down I said, wow. You must think newlyweds make a lot of messes that require dish towels. Huh. Everyone started blushing and looking away and I cringed. So hard. I'd say my best friend's husband's bachelor party. We went to Vegas and got home from the club around 4 AM. We rode the elevator up with a hooker. Groom went to bed and 6 of the groomsmen took turns banging the hooker. I went to bed in another room and didn't participate in the shenanigans. Woke up at 8 AM to used condoms everywhere and a video of them all taking turns. Another groomsman walked in at 9 AM saying he won $800 on craps and needed to sleep because he'd done a ton of coke earlier and should probably get some sleep. One of the GFS of the groomsmen found out and told the others' wives. Wedding had great cake though. I was in Vegas for a bachelor party about a month ago. We pulled up to a card table on Saturday night and found another group of guys who were there for a bachelor party, so we got to talking. We asked which one of them was the bachelor and they kinda laughed then said, well, he got arrested earlier today. Apparently, he got arrested for having some fun powder at a day party and tried to fight security. They said they couldn't see him until Monday after he saw a judge, so they planned to continue with the party until they could see him. Ultimately, the dealer was this Russian woman with a thick as accent was listening and said, wait, he got arrested for coke? I thought this was Vegas. That's bullshit. I don't know what ended up happening with him. But that's sucks. My friend died on his bachelor weekend. He fell out the cab at the end of the night and hit his head on the sidewalk. Cops put him in a drum cell overnight. Turned out he had fractured his skull. They let him out in the morning, but he went into a coma and died a week later. Wedding was supposed to be 3 weeks later. We ended up having his funeral then. I am completely broken up by it still. Edit. Overwhelmed by the kind messages from so many folks. And grateful for the smart discussion about when to seek medical help. This started as a story about life at its worst. It ended as one about Reddit at its best. Thanks friends. The stripper was pregnant. Not oh she's got a little baby bump pregnant. She was flat out, oh god I hope she doesn't deliver during this dance pregnant. There were a few guys that were really into it too. Which is whatever. Everyone has their kinks. I was second choice for the best man. Which I didn't mind. Less work for me. So I wandered over to the actual best man, who I was friends with, and struck up a conversation. Me. Hey. This beer is great. And you did a great job with the food and liquor too. Him. Thanks man. Me. So did you notice the stripper is like 11 months pregnant? Him. Shut up. Turns out that he was trying to cut some expenses and found a friend. That knew a friend. That knew a friend. That knew of this girl that stripped really cheap. After she was done dancing, including the one-on-one dance with the groom, she started propositioning guys. Her and some of the guys would disappear randomly. I don't know exactly what happened and I never asked because I really didn't want to know. We were chilling out at a bar, just dancing and drinking when about half of the guys in the bachelor party just get soaked. We all turn around to find this guy in a standoff with two girls, one of whom had just thrown a drink at him. We're just standing there confused when the second girl, this tiny Asian thing, grabs a beer bottle off a nearby table and fastballs it at this guy. It was the best throw I've seen. She nailed him right in the head full strength from 20+ feet away in a crowded bar. His head split open and the two girls took off running. Eventually the bouncers came and were asking him and everyone which guys did this and if they were still here, and we got to explain it was this 5'0" Asian girl with a cannon of an arm. They seemed pretty amused and less angry after that.